It's that glorious time of the year, October deer hunting rules. It's time to hunt. Almost every bow hunting state is in and ready to go as of the 1st of October. Pennsylvania, the 5th of October for the bulk of the state. But boy, things are getting serious in the whitetail woods, and this is an exciting time to be a bow hunter and a whitetail fanatic. I love it. But, and I'll mention this is an overall theme to September and October. The season is a marathon, not a sprint. You don't want to destroy your land. Keep that focus downward. Be very smart when you hunt. There's one way to hunt, and that is just go hard, hit all your stands, hit multiple states, drive here, drive there. Don't get much sleep. Hunt every day. Keep switching spots. Hunt hardcore. And you'll run into some deer, but it's almost by just stubborn and hard work luck getting involved. Instead, learn to be a tactician. Learn to make smart decisions of when to go in, where to sit and why. Use the weather to your advantage. Play the weather. Make sure you play the wind. Make sure you're not spooking deer when you go in and out. Preserve, preserve, preserve. And then you find your success per sit goes way up. It skyrockets. So that's that hunt smart approach. You find you get more sleep. You don't tire out your boss, your family, your spouse. And it's just better all around. So learn to hunt smart, not necessarily harder. Hunting harder isn't necessarily smarter. I hope that makes sense. Number one, there's no such thing as a lull. The lull is induced by people. Either you have poor habitat. Imagine they're in the summer pattern. You watch them. You think that's going to stay the same. Well, their summer food is gone. The cover that a mature buck wants during the fall is completely different. He wants thick cover in the fall and winter. He wants high stem count and browse. He can't have that cover in the summer. He doesn't want to crash his velvet through it. He needs open air shade. So it all changes. And then when you apply a bunch of hunting pressure on top of that, that's when people say, well, the bucks are gone nocturnal. No, they just moved. They moved because of hunting pressure, lack of cover, lack of food, and a lot of times all three. That's why I look at it like there's a 5% club, meaning there's only 5% of all lands that start to attract the concentrations of bucks during the fall. They become highly concentrated on very few parcels. Lack of pressure, good food, good cover, sets you up. Doesn't even mean you need to have more than 40 acres or 20 acres of woods. You can have a very small chunk if you have good food, good cover, and the deer have the illusion that they're not being hunted, then you can be in the 5% club. You don't need hundreds of acres to do this. So think about that. There's no lull. The summer patterns are just gone. Pressure's being applied. They're looking for their fall food and cover, and mature bucks are the ones that are willing to travel and go find it. Does have a very small home range compared to mature bucks. Those mature bucks will go out and find it. They don't care if they go 2 miles, and that's why it seems like, wow, they just disappeared. There's a lull. They're nocturnal. No, they just moved. And when they move a mile or two away, it means they show up in the middle of the night, and they're probably not going to be back on your land until during the peak rut, if at that at all. Quick shot at summer patterns. October 1st, 2nd, 3rd. For some of you that was September 1st was the opener, or the 14th, the 21st in some of the wildlife management units in Pennsylvania, your chances at summer patterns are fleeting. Not only is hunting pressure going to be applied, whether it's by you or your neighbor, but those summer patterns of food and cover, you have a short window. In a lot of areas, beans are already turning brown. But if you had late planted soybeans, you have a short window of green beans to hunt, and then it's over. So think of it that those summer patterns are fleeting, and if you hold on to those summer patterns, you're going to have a really big or really bad October. Because those summer patterns are only for the first couple days, if that. Some are already done by October 1st. So what you saw on your cameras in person September 15th, September 20th, might not be exactly the same on the 2nd, let alone the 1st. So really look at that those patterns are changing. Have a game plan to where these deer are moving and why. If it's on private land, build it so they stay. If it's on public land, go hunt somewhere else and find it. Because even on public land, a very small percentage of public land holds mature bucks. And that's pretty obvious. But I don't think a lot of times on private land, people make that same equation. They don't look at that that's relative, that public land, obviously, mature bucks are in certain locations and that's it. They're not everywhere in the woods. They're not by the parking areas, the campgrounds, the walk-in areas. They're in remote locations, and it's no different on private land. Private land is just a lot smaller in scope and size. But think about that. You have a quick shot, acorns and apple staging, really cool. We have a spot out here that we looked at recently. It was just white oaks, really good acorn crop, and it's an awesome spot to go into a late post daybreak stand entrance. So you're going in when it's gray light, you're making sure there's no deer. You go right into the edge of the woods, and now we get to watch this nice acorn flat. It's near big buck bedding, and they might come out at 11, 10, 1, but we need to get out of there by 2 or 3 because deer are going to get behind us where our wind's blowing out into the fields. Really cool post daybreak stand entrance, and if we had an apple tree off to the side, even better. Might be an old homestead somewhere. You sneak in right after daybreak, even 9 in the morning, and you're getting into this little cluster of apples. It's an old homestead somewhere, and it's next to a mature buck bedding area, distant food source. You're getting in there. He gets out of his bed 11, 12, 10:30, 1, and you're waiting right there for him to come into this little hot spot of apple trees. Really cool spots to hunt. And then also, it might be these little concentrated stands of acorns or apples that are on the way from a marsh system, a clear cut on public land. They're going through this little spot on their way to distant clear cuts, ag fields, golf courses, neighborhoods that are on private land. And that's where they feed after dark. You're just getting them as they're slipping through. Really good hot spots to hunt. Number 4, don't mess up. Don't mess up. Again, the season is a marathon, not a sprint. Always think of 3 weeks of forgiveness that mature bucks give you. Meaning when you spook them, they're going to be back in about 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, maybe 2 in some areas. But bottom line is it's going to be a few weeks. So if you're hitting your property hard every weekend, those deer just get pushed off into past the season even ending. So think about 3 weeks. Always think, if I mess up, think about that 3-week window. Think about if you're spooking deer to your neighbors, if you're spooking out your hunt a week from now. Always make smart choices, smart decisions when it comes to playing the wind, playing the weather, and that's why I hunt the weather. You know, I say often, I have the ability to hunt any day I want. I just can't hunt every day. And what I mean by that is I can choose and I can look ahead and say the weather's going to be good on this day and this day after, and I'm going to hunt then. That's how I kill almost all of my bucks, is that weather change. It's consistent, then it drops, shoot bucks. Pretty simple. It's a formula for success, because if you're not pressuring your deer herd, you can go in on an unsuspecting deer with great conditions and have a high probability of success. And for those of you who don't think that deer move during the weather, just think about the times they don't. Think about that they're not moving during blizzards, they're not moving during thunderstorms, not saying ever. They're not moving during high winds, high heat, extreme temperatures where they want to conserve energy and move when it's during the warmth of the day. Think about the times they don't move. Weather does play an influence of when deer move, but you have to go backwards and look at that calm, cold, and consistent, and then the drop. And then that's when you shoot those deer. But bottom line is, always remember, you can't mess up. Make smart decisions. In October, feeding fronts are money. We're not hunting morning stands this time of year, hardly ever. Maybe a post-daybreak stand entrance on some white oak acorns. Talk about that. But when we're typically hunting is in the afternoon, and when you have a buck that you think is in and around daylight, what puts him in on his feet during daylight, and tracking collars won't even show this because they'll show a daytime movement where he's at, a 24-hour period. But if you look at, he still moved a mile, he still moved the same amount, but if it's cold and the conditions are right, and you just had a cold front, he missed some feeding opportunities, and now you have that calm, cold period on the backside of a front. What a great time to go in on an unsuspecting monster right after a cold front. Doesn't matter if it's the 5th of October, the 12th, the 17th, the 22nd, not even into the rut yet. Just watch for that. And that's the same recipe for success in September and December too, outside the rut, let alone throwing gasoline on the fire of the rut during November. Watch for those cold afternoon feeding fronts. Watch for that in October. And man, those are some great times to go sit. They are money. They are where you can hang your hat and experience a great hunt during October. And then you can follow those same weather patterns the rest of the year for all your hunting seasons to come, and have a great hunt for decades to come as well. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. You're our best followers. You followed all the way to the end of the video. Really invite you to check out our website. We have our earthway spreaders for sale, great Christmas presents. We're booking clients right now, all 5 of us. So by the end of December, it seems early, but by the end of December, our schedule will be booked for 2025. It's hard to believe. I'm already booked for December and most of January, February. We have our web classes, the Rut web class, how to design your whitetail property, and really important, hunting hills and thermals, understanding the wind. Those are great products on our site, all the books. Thank you so much for watching all the videos, buying the seed that you did this year. Really appreciate you.